الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا ومرشدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We glorify Him, we worship Him, we adore Him. He is our creator, He is our sustainer. He gives us everything that we need. He gives us our food, our drink, our shelter, the air that we breathe. Without Him, we have nothing. We have no existence. We have nothing, subhanallah. And with Him, with His mercy, with His blessing, we have everything that we need. And Allah Ta'ala, through His infinite mercy and wisdom, has given us Iman, this belief in Him, this recognition of Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we might understand our Creator and so that we might come closer to Him and build a connection with Him. And so far we've been hearing from Surah Al-Baqarah. We are now in the second juz and we are at ayah 183. Last week we heard about qisas, about capital punishment and how it should be done, and also about the virtues of forgiving. And then when a decision is made, then that decision should be fulfilled and dealt with quickly, amicably, so that any animosity and enmity doesn't carry on for many years and months. We know that the Arabs used to fight from over many generations, over the smallest of things, before Islam came. And so this was designed to put a line under any matter. And then we heard about the importance of making a will. Now, at the time when this ayah was revealed about making a will, advising the family about what we want to do with our estate after our death, there were no clear guidelines from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an. The ayah regarding the inheritance had not been revealed. So at the time, Allah Ta'ala advised the Muslims that make sure that when you make your will, that you advise goodness towards your parents and towards your relatives. But afterwards, the ayat came that we see in Surah Al-Imran, in Surah Al-Nisa, where we hear about the inheritance and how the estate should be split up. But this is an important point for us to reflect upon, that have we prepared? We think about death, we think about the life after death, but it's very important for us to think about what we want to happen to our estate when we die. There are certain things that must happen according to the Islam, according to Sharia, but we have a choice regarding 1/3 of our estate. Where we want to leave it, who we want to leave it for. Do we want to give it in some sort of charity, or to one particular person who is not part of our family? So this is a decision that we should make, and of course death can come to anyone, young person or old person. So this is advice for myself and for everyone else. We should think carefully about inheritance, about our estate and what will happen to it when death comes, because death is inevitable. And then Allah Ta'ala tells us about one of the important pillars of Islam. Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhal ladheena amanu. O you who believe. And once again, when we hear these words, our ears should perk up. We should want to hear, what is Allah saying to us? What does He want us to know? What does He say? Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Siyam, fasting, has been written upon you. Meaning it has been made obligatory for you. And what is sawm? Sawm, we say fasting. Sawm means to abstain. What we should abstain from, Allah Ta'ala tells us. We know the Prophet ﷺ tells us what we need to abstain from when we are fasting. But fasting isn't something that's specific for our ummah. It came for the ummah before as well. Allah Ta'ala then says, كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. It has been written for you. It has been made obligatory for you as it was made obligatory for those people who came before you. So the people, the followers of Isa alayhi salam, the followers of Musa alayhi salam, and other generations of believers, other nations, other followers of prophets, they all had fasting. But fasting was slightly different. So we know that at the time of Isa alayhi salam and his ummah, fasting included speech. So they were not to speak as well. And this was following the example of Maryam alayhi salam, when she came back with her baby, with Isa alayhi salam, and the people questioned her, that what have you done? You're not a married woman and you have a child. Where has this child come from? You must have done an evil thing. Ya ukhta Harun, O sister of Harun, what have you done? Your father was not an evil man, and your mother was not an evil woman. What have you done? So what did she do? فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ. She pointed to the child. She didn't speak. She pointed to the child. So then they said, قَالُوا كَيْفَ نُكَلِّمُ مَنْ كَانَ فِي الْمَهْدِ صَبِيًّا. How can we speak to a child that is still in the cradle? But then Isa alayhi salam, this baby, spoke. قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. He said, surely I am the servant of Allah. آتاني الكتاب. He has given me the book. وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. And He has made me a messenger, a prophet. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتَ. And He has made me blessed wherever I am. وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ. And He has commanded me to establish and perform salah. وَالزَّكَاةِ. And to give zakah. مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. For as long as I live. So this was the sawm, this was the fasting of the followers of Isa alayhi salam. That they were not to speak. And you'll find monks now as well in their monasteries when they are fasting, Allahu A'lam, how they fast or what shape this takes. But often they will abstain from speaking as well, following on from that tradition, Allahu A'lam. So Allah Ta'ala tells us here that fasting has been made obligatory for us as it was made obligatory for those people who came before. So this tells us that there is a long tradition of fasting, but it's also designed to spur us on. If we hear that people in the past also used to fast, then we should think, well, we want to do better than them. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Allah Ta'ala says, race one another towards all goodness. سَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Race one another. Rush towards forgiveness from your Lord. So Allah Ta'ala wants us to be spurred on by this. That those people before they did this, they used to fast, so we should want to as well. And of course it's obligatory anyway, so we should want to do it even better than them. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. But then a person might question, well, what's all this fasting for? What are we to achieve from this? Yes, Allah has asked us to fast and it's obligatory, yes, and that's great and wonderful, but what have we to gain from this? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So that you might achieve this taqwa. And we hear this ayah all the time in Ramadan. But as we approach Ramadan, this is something we should be thinking about. and have at the forefront of our mind. That we should be trying to achieve this taqwa. This is something, taqwa is not just for Ramadan, it's for our entire lives. But of course, fasting is something that allows us to build upon this taqwa. And taqwa is often defined as the fear of Allah, but it's even more than this. It means to be aware, to be conscious of Allah at all times. Because when a person is conscious of Allah, when a person remembers that Allah is watching him and listening to him, and this will come in the next couple of ayat inshallah. When a person recognizes this, then he will abstain from all sin. Whenever his nafs, or whenever shaitan takes him towards something that might displease Allah, even if there is a doubt about it, then this person will avoid that sin. Because he will never want to displease his Creator, the one who has given him so much. And when a person fasts, then he comes closer to this. There are, of course, the natural barakat, the blessings that come with fasting in and of itself. But also when a person is fasting, and even if he has food in front of him, he's in a closed room, no one is watching him, but subhanallah, that person will still avoid eating from that food. He is hungry. His stomach is crying out to him, that go and just eat that little bit. You know you're hungry, just go on. But no, he won't. Similarly with the water, he'll hold back. And this is taqwa. When a person has this thing that will displease Allah in front of him, it's within reach, and yet he abstains, because he knows that this will displease Allah. This is taqwa. And this is what fasting pushes a person towards achieving. Taqwa. But then Allah reminds us that those days of blessing and mercy and forgiveness, they are limited. أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. Now this can mean one of two things. It could mean that they are counted days, because you'll notice that in Ramadan, if you ask any person, any Muslim, which day of Ramadan is it? He'll say, oh, it's the 7th of Ramadan today. 7th fast, and it'll be the 8th Tarawih tonight. But if you ask them in any other month of the calendar, they won't know. To the point where if you ask them which day of Ramadan it is, they will know. But if you ask them which day of June it is, they might not know. So this is one thing. These days are counted. And indeed we do find ourselves counting these days. But another way of understanding this word, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ, is these days are numbered. They are limited. So we count them because we know how few they are. And they're also limited. And we will hear from everyone around us, and we'll think ourselves as well, that Ramadan passes so quickly. Only yesterday it felt like the first of Ramadan, and yet all of a sudden Eid is upon us. So those days are numbered and they are counted. And this is a reminder to us that when Ramadan comes, we should make the most of it. And it's very difficult to make the most of it if you haven't prepared. We hear about the Salaf al-Salih, the people of the past, the pious predecessors, how they used to say goodbye to Ramadan for 6 months of the year. So after Ramadan had gone, they used to say goodbye by continuing in their good worship. And then after this, they used to spend the next 5 or 6 months welcoming and preparing for Ramadan. We have just over a month ago. So we should be preparing for Ramadan. It's very difficult. If we have a plan, for example, that I will recite 2 juz or 1 juz of the Qur'an, 1 parah of the Qur'an every day of Ramadan. But at the moment we're not reciting even 1 ayah. It will be very difficult on the first day of Ramadan to recite that 1 juz. But if we start building up and start reciting maybe 1 page a day, and then 2 pages, and then maybe half a juz, so then we are ready by Ramadan, then it will be much easier for us. So this is something we should be preparing for. We should be bringing ourselves into the mindset that we want when we are in Ramadan. Because it's very hard to suddenly switch it on. And those days are limited, as Allah tells us. They are counted, they are numbered. So just warming up may take 10 days. And then you've lost those 10 days. Whereas if you had warmed up 10 days or a month in advance, then you could have made the most of those full 29 or 30 days. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. So whoever from amongst you is unwell, or he is traveling, then he should make up for those days that he has missed in other days outside of Ramadan. So what this means is that if a person is unwell or he is traveling, then he does not need to fast. He may not fast during those days, and then he must make up for them after Ramadan. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. And upon those people who are able to, then they should give fidya, meaning enough money for a person's food, to a miskin, to a poor person. فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Whoever does nothing, whoever chooses to voluntarily fast, then this is better for him. And if you fast, وَأَنْ تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. And if you do fast, then it is better for you, إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, if only you knew. Now this ayah came near the beginning. So this was in Medina Munawwara, but it was near the beginning of the Prophet ﷺ's time there. And this ayah tells us that people have a choice. That if they wanted to fast, then they could, or they could pay. So it was a choice between the two. They could either pay for a poor person's food, or they could fast. But then that choice went with the following ayah. Allah Ta'ala says, شَهْرُ رَمَضَانَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. The month of Ramadan is the one in which the Qur'an was revealed. Now, revelation comes in two types of words in Arabic. You have inzal and you have tanzeel. So Allah Ta'ala here says, أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ, which comes from the word inzal, and this means to send down in one go, basically. Tanzeel means when it's sent down in short parts, in small parts. So the Qur'an was originally sent down from above the seven heavens to the first heaven above the Kaaba in one go. And this was in Ramadan, however many years ago, Allahu A'lam. So this is when we say the Qur'an was revealed in Ramadan, this is what we mean. After this, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was sent down in small parts as the need was. So whenever it was required, it was sent down in smaller parts. But in Ramadan, it was sent down all in one go, however many years before. How was it sent down? Why was it sent down? Hudan lin-nas, as guidance for the people. But it's not for absolutely everyone. And we know this because Allah Ta'ala tells us elsewhere, Hudan lil-muttaqeen. It is guidance for those with taqwa. And of course there will be many people amongst all of humanity who will read the Qur'an, but they will read it with a different intention. Perhaps to find fault in it, perhaps to find mistakes, subhanallah, or to find things that they can then throw back at Muslims. But if a person is seeking guidance, if a person is truly seeking guidance and wants answers, then he will find it in the Qur'an. And this is what Allah Ta'ala sent it down for. Huda, it is guidance for the people, but of course the people who want it. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى وَالْفُرْقَانِ. And bayyinat, meaning signs, things that make things apparent. The Qur'an has many ayat, and we've heard many of them already, which clarify things, which make the truth open and apparent. This is what Allah is saying. He says bayyinat. So these ayat are making things apparent and open, and these open ayat are then providing guidance. Wal Furqan. Furqan is another word for Qur'an. The Qur'an has many different names, and Furqan is one of them. And Furqan comes from faraq, which we know faraq meaning distinction or the difference. And so it differentiates between good and bad, between truth and falsehood, between haqq and batil, between all good and all that is bad. So Allah Ta'ala sent down this Qur'an as guidance for the people, as something that clarifies the questions that a person might have, provides clarity, and also as something that differentiates between good and evil. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. So whoever witnesses this month, the month of Ramadan, then he should fast it. And this ayah then tells us that it's necessary. We must fast, there's no choice anymore. So this ayah came after the ayah that came before. And this made it obligatory. So whoever is well and he is not traveling, then upon him it is necessary to fast. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Again, a repetition of what came before. And whoever amongst you is unwell, or he is traveling, then he should make up that number of fast that he has missed outside of Ramadan. So here Allah has made it easy for us. Otherwise it would have been very difficult for a person who is sick, a person who has reached old age and isn't able to tolerate fasts, particularly at this time of year when they are very long in this country. So Allah then says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. Allah wants for you ease. He wants ease for you. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. He does not want difficulty for you. Allah wants to make it easy for you. And Allah Ta'ala says elsewhere in the Qur'an, لا تكلف نفس إلا وسعها. A soul is not given a burden more than that it is able to carry. Allah Ta'ala only burdens a person with what they are able to carry. And of course Allah is our creator. He is the one who has given us our strength. So He knows what we are able to bear. So He has made fasting obligatory upon us, knowing that we will be able to bear it. But of course, if someone is unwell, or if they are fasting, then they have that choice. So then the question arises that fine, if a person is traveling, is it better to fast, or is it better to leave it? And the ulama have differed here. Because of course, some say, yes, absolutely, if a person finds themselves able to fast, then why not? And perhaps that is better, because there is the blessing and the barakat of the day of Ramadan as well. So even if a person is traveling and they fast, then they are receiving the blessing of Ramadan. Otherwise they'll have to make up for it outside of Ramadan. And you can't really make up for that blessing that you have within Ramadan. But of course, we look at the example of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, and we find that when they used to travel with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they tell us that there would be some who would be fasting, there would be some who weren't, and no one would blame one another. No one would say to one another, you're wrong, you shouldn't be fasting, or you should be fasting, or anything like this. So if a person felt that they were able to, then they did. This was a choice. And this is best. This is how we should behave as well. even if there is a difference of opinion in these matters, then we shouldn't bicker, we shouldn't argue. Rather, we should focus on what's important. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ. The important thing here is that you finish the number. So if you have missed any fasts, then make up for them outside of Ramadan. Don't miss them. And then the question arises that, say a person has missed 3 fasts. Must he then make up for all of them in one go? So 3 in a row? Or can he split them up? And the ulama are united in the fact that no, there's no need to do them all in one go. If he has missed 3, because he was traveling or if he was unwell, then at his ease, as Allah says, He wants ease for us. Outside of Ramadan, he can make up for them as he can. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. Allah tells us that He has made fasting obligatory upon us. He wants us to complete the number of fasts of Ramadan. And afterwards He says, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And then He wants us to glorify Allah. He wants us to do takbir, to glorify Him, to say Allahu Akbar, upon the fact that He has guided us. Because when a person fasts, then he sees what's important. He finds that things come into perspective. He finds the value. He sees the value of the food that he has in front of him. All of the different things, the things that we take for granted normally, he starts to value those things. And so then, inshallah, as his iman increases, he will start to value other things as well, like his iman. He will start to value the fact that Allah Ta'ala has given him this iman. Something he may not have paid much attention to before. But then he starts to value this iman that Allah has given him and this guidance that he has received. So then Allah says, and so that you might glorify Allah out of thanks for the guidance that He has given you. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And so that you might do shukr, so that you might be grateful. Again, showing gratitude for all of the gifts and the bounties that Allah has given us, but also for the iman that He has given us. Because then we're able to appreciate it better as our taqwa increases, which is the whole point of the fasting, as we heard before. And this is a theme that we hear elsewhere as well. Notice how Allah Ta'ala said here that finish your fasts and then glorify Allah. Similarly, when we hear about fasting, just further in this one, we hear Allah Ta'ala says, فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَنَاسِكَكُمْ. When you finish the rites of Hajj, the actions that you need to do for Hajj, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ. Then remember Allah, engage in the remembrance of Allah, كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ, in the way that you remember your fathers. أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا, or even more than this. So notice how, after these great actions, after these great acts of worship, Allah wants us to remember Him further, so that we might show gratitude to Him, so that we might come closer to Him. So here we are doing takbir, we are saying Allahu Akbar, and this is something we do on the Eid, Eid al-Fitr, when we do the takbir, because this is what Allah wants us to do. So similarly, this is something that we should be doing at the time of iftar as well, because we are finishing our fast. And also Allah Ta'ala wants us to remember Him after Hajj. So we see after any act of worship, we should remember Allah. So after our salah as well, there is great value in remembering Allah, in doing takbir, in doing tasbih, so that we remember Him, so that Allah is pleased with us. And so that وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, we might show gratitude to Him. And then we see the next ayah, beautiful ayah. Allah Ta'ala tells us where He is. A Bedouin once asked that, is our Lord close that I may whisper? So when I want to speak to my Lord, is our Lord close so that I may whisper to him? Or is he far away so that I should call out to him? A Bedouin asked the Prophet ﷺ. And similarly, some Sahaba, they asked the Prophet ﷺ, where is our Lord? So that we might call out to him and make dua. Where is our Lord? And of course, there was the ayah that came before where Allah Ta'ala says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord has said that call out to me, make dua to me, أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ, and I will return your call. I will answer your call. So then the Sahaba asked, when should we ask of him? Of course, Allah is so great in the way that a person goes to the king or a powerful, influential person, they need to go with an appointment. We'll ask them, when's the best time to come to you? So similarly, the Sahaba, the Muslims of the time, they wondered, is there a good time to approach Allah Ta'ala? When should we ask of Allah? A very innocent question, but a pertinent one. So then Allah Ta'ala responds. Because the Prophet ﷺ remained silent when these questions were asked. And then the revelation came. Allah says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And when my servants ask you about me, then say to them that surely I am close. I am qareeb. Notice here how Allah Ta'ala makes these servants come to Him. He doesn't say when the believers ask you. Of course, these are believers. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, this Bedouin, they are believers, they are mu'minun, they are Muslimun. But no, Allah Ta'ala chooses this word, my servants, showing this belonging, the fact that they are His, showing this closeness again. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي. And when my servants ask you about me, that where am I, when should we call out to Him? فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, I am close. And Allah tells us elsewhere in the Qur'an regarding the dying person, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ, the famous ayah where Allah Ta'ala says, you see this dying person, this close relative of yours, your father, your mother, whoever it is, dying, they're on their deathbed, you want to help them but you can't, you're so close to them, and yet Allah is even closer to him or her than their carotid artery. Subhanallah. So Allah is very close. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. I answer the call of the caller when he calls me. So it doesn't matter if you call him during the day or during the night. He will answer the call. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. So let them ask of me. وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي. And let them believe in me. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So that they might be guided. And there are some beautiful ahadith regarding this. We see one narration of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu, who says that when they were traveling towards a battle, whenever they went up a hill or down into a valley, then they would shout out takbir very loudly. Allahu Akbar, very loudly. So then the Prophet ﷺ came close to them and he said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, arbi'u ala anfusikum. Be easy on yourselves. Don't be so harsh on yourselves. Don't force yourselves to speak out so loudly and say takbir so loudly. Be gentle upon yourselves. فَإِنَّكُمْ لَا تَدْعُونَ أَصَمَّ وَلَا غَائِبًا. Because you are not calling out to one who is deaf or one who is absent. إِنَّمَا تَدْعُونَ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Surely you are calling out to one who is all-hearing and all-seeing. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ أَقْرَبُ إِلَىٰ أَحَدِكُمْ مِنْ عُنُقِ رَاحِلَتِهِ. Remember, these were people who were traveling on their animals, on their horses, on their camels. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, surely the one that you are calling out to, he is closer to each one of you than the neck of your ride. of the animal that you're traveling on. So you can imagine if you are riding a camel or a horse, you simply have to reach out to touch the neck. So this is how close Allah Ta'ala is, or closer. And then the Prophet ﷺ said to one of the Sahaba, Ya Abdullah ibn Qais, ألا أعلمك كلمة من كنوز الجنة. Oh Abdullah ibn Qais, one of the Sahaba, should I not teach you a word or some words from the treasures of Jannah? What is this? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. This is from the treasures of Jannah. That there is no power or might except with Allah. So Allah is close. He is listening to you, He is watching you, He hears everything that you do, everything that you say. He knows what is in your heart. He knows where you are going, what you are doing. And we see, there's a narration from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Hadith Qudsi, where Allah Ta'ala says, أَنَا مَعَ عَبْدِي مَا ذَكَرَنِي وَتَحَرَّكَتْ بِي شَفَّتَاهُ. I am with my servant whenever he remembers me, and whenever his lips move in my remembrance. So whenever we remember Allah, whenever our lips even move when remembering Allah Ta'ala, then Allah is with us. And if Allah is with us, what more do we want? Allah Ta'ala says in the Qur'an, إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مُحْسِنُونَ. Surely Allah is with those people who have taqwa. We've heard about the need to achieve taqwa here with fasting. So Allah says that surely Allah is with those people who have taqwa, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مُحْسِنُونَ, and those who do good, those who do their good, do good deeds with ihsan. And then Allah Ta'ala also tells us in the Qur'an when He spoke to Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam, when He sent them to Fir'aun. Fir'aun the tyrant, Musa alayhi salam and his brother are going to him. Of course they're scared. They're going to be calling him towards Allah, and yet he may not listen, he may torture them, he may kill them. They were frightened. What did Allah Ta'ala say to them? إِنَّنِي مَعَكُمْ, surely I am with you. أَسْمَعُ, I am listening. وَأَرَى, and I am seeing. And then Allah Ta'ala also here says, we hear in the Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى لَيَسْتَحْيِي أَنْ يَبْسُطَ الْعَبْدُ إِلَيْهِ يَدَيْهِ يَسْأَلُهُ فِيهِمَا خَيْرًا فَيَرُدَّهُمَا خَائِبَتَيْنِ. Surely Allah Ta'ala is embarrassed when the servant puts out his hands in front of him and he asks of Allah some goodness, that Allah Ta'ala would send him back empty-handed. This would embarrass Allah Ta'ala. So of course Allah Ta'ala gives, He accepts the prayer. And then we see in the Hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ says, لا يزال يستجاب للعبد. A person carries on asking of Allah, he continues to receive. Allah Ta'ala continues to accept his dua. ما لم يدعو بإثم أو قطيعة رحم. Until he asks us for something evil, something that will displease Allah, or he calls for the breaking of ties within a family, showing how important it is to establish and maintain ties within families. مَا لَمْ يَسْتَعْجِلْ. So Allah Ta'ala continues to accept the dua, continues to accept the dua, as long as he doesn't do one of these two things, asking for something forbidden, until he hurries, until this person hurries. So he wants Allah to give him quickly. So then the Sahaba radiallahu anhum asked, وَمَا الْإِسْتِعْجَالِ? Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is this hurrying? What do you mean as long as he doesn't hurry? He said, يَقُولُ قَدْ دَعَوْتُ وَقَدْ دَعَوْتُ فَلَمْ أَرَى يُسْتَجَابُ بِي. So the Prophet ﷺ said, to hurry means that this person, after making so much dua, he then says, oh, I've called out to Allah, I've made dua, I've continued to make dua for so many days, so many years, but I've not seen any response to this. فَيَسْتَحْسِرُ. So he loses hope. عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ وَيَدَعُ الدُّعَى. So at that point he loses hope, and then he leaves dua. So at that point then, if he leaves dua, then his dua won't be accepted, because he's not making dua. And we see another hadith narrated by Abu Sa'id Fakhruddin who says, مَا مِن مُسْلِمٍ يَدْعُ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ بِدَعْوَةٍ. And this is something worth remembering and perhaps taking away with us today, inshallah. That there is no Muslim who calls out towards Allah Azza wa Jal with a dua, لَيْسَ فِيهَا إِثْمٌ وَلَا قَطِعَةُ رَحِمٍ. And this is a dua that doesn't include any sin or breaking of ties. إِلَّا أَعْطَاهُ اللَّهُ بِهَا إِحْدَى ثَلَاثِ خَصَائِرٍ. So no Muslim calls out to Allah with a good dua except Allah Ta'ala gives him in return one of three things. So he will definitely receive one of three things, as long as it's a good dua. What are these three things? إِمَّا أَن يُعَجِّلَ لَهُ دَعْوَةً. The first thing is that he may actually receive the reward of that dua. He may receive the answer of that dua there and then, or quickly. Allah Ta'ala gives it quickly, meaning he sees the answer to his dua in this world. So then he feels, yes, this dua has been accepted. وَإِمَّا أَن يَدَّخِرَهَا لَهُ فِي الْأُخْرَى. Or Allah Ta'ala saves it and gathers it for him, so that he will receive it in the akhirah, where he will receive far greater than what he might see in this dunya. But of course, this person might not recognize this. But this is the second thing that could happen. وَإِمَّا أَن يَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ مِنَ السُّوءِ مِثْلَهَا. Or Allah Ta'ala, because of the barakah, the blessing of that dua, Allah Ta'ala saves him from some sort of evil that was going to afflict him. So he was destined to be harmed by something, but because of the blessing of that dua he made, Allah Ta'ala saved him from it. But of course, he won't recognize this necessarily in this world. But this is something we should all be aware of. We should never stop making dua. Dua, calling to Allah Ta'ala, this is a great blessing. This is something that we can do at all times. It is the weapon of the believer. Dua silahul mu'min. And when a person makes dua with sincerity and asks for something good, then it is definitely answered. Even if a person thinks that it's not being answered, he should still believe that it is being answered. And of course, whenever a person makes dua, a person shouldn't make it half-hearted. That's the other thing. A person sometimes thinks, oh Allah, if you want, oh Allah, maybe could you please kind of give this to me? No, this is not the way to make dua. When we ask of Allah, we should firmly believe that Allah will give it. We should have firm belief and firm conviction in Allah. And then of course, for us is to ask. It is for Allah to give. And He will accept our dua. As we heard, it's one of these three things that will happen. Either we see the response here in this world, or it's saved for us in the hereafter, or an evil that is going to afflict us is saved. We are saved from it. So we should be firm when we make dua. We ask of Allah with full conviction, never half-heartedly. So after this, after the Prophet ﷺ had said these three things, then the Sahaba radiallahu anhum said, إِذَا نُكْثِرْ. If that's the case, that Allah always answers the dua, then in that case we will make lots and lots of dua. We will continually make dua. So then look at the response of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Allahu Akthar. Allah is even greater than this. So even if you make even more dua, Allah is able to give even more than this. So do not be disheartened. If you have been making any sort of dua and you're not seeing the fruits of it or the answer to it in this world, then of course Allah knows best why. It's always worth remembering also, Allah Ta'ala says in the Qur'an, عَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It is possible that you dislike something, but it's actually better for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا. But it's possible also that you really like something, وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. But it's actually bad for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ. And Allah knows, وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And you do not know. Our knowledge is limited. Allah is the all-knowing. He is our creator. His love for us passes all bounds, subhanallah. His wisdom is infinite. And so if we are worried about our own well-being, then Allah is even more worried than us regarding our well-being. So we should never lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should continue to make dua, and then we will see the rewards, inshallah. And even if we see no reward, even if we see no answer for our dua, then dua in itself is a form of ibadah. So even if we don't see an answer to our dua, we will receive reward for even making dua, because we are showing humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala give us the tawfiq to recite this Qur'an, to learn from its many lessons and to act upon it. If there are any questions about what we've covered today. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, is there a criteria?
It's okay.
Is there a criteria for the da'wah, the one who calls for Allah? Is there a set criteria? Does he have to be? What is the criteria? Can anybody call for Allah? Because Allah doesn't say to mention, it doesn't say all believers, even though they are the believers, or they doesn't say all, those who are close to Allah. What is the criteria? Does they have to pray a certain number of times? Do they have to have certain criteria? What is the criteria?
Right, okay, so the question is, what are the criteria for a person to make dua and to expect it to be accepted? So the first criterion is, of course, iman. The person should be a believer. As Allah said in this ayah, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي, so let them call out to me, وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي, and let them believe in me, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ, so that they might be guided. So that's the first thing, a person must have iman. And then afterwards, subhanallah, we are all weak. Some are closer to Allah than others, some are stronger in their iman than others. This is something we should always be working on. So a person should make dua. As long as he has belief, Allah knows what's in our hearts. And so inshallah, Allah will accept our dua. But of course, we see in the hadith, and this has been mentioned before, that we should be careful about our earnings. So a person who isn't very careful with his earnings, and he's wearing clothes that come from haram earnings, he's eating from haram, then this is a cause also for dua not being accepted. If a person makes the wrong type of dua, a person asks for something that is not in line with the Sharia, then of course this won't be accepted. So these are certain things that a person should be mindful of. But ultimately, if a person has tried to keep these things in mind, and then as much as possible, and then if he makes dua, Allah Ta'ala accepts. He is the most merciful, He is the most forgiving. One should never lose hope in Allah. As Allah says, لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah. إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. Surely Allah forgives all sins. إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Surely He is the oft forgiving and the most merciful. وأنيبوا إلى ربكم. So turn to your Lord. Go back to your Lord. وأسلموا له. And submit yourself to Allah. So yes, inshallah, as long as a person has iman and is wary of these things regarding his wealth and such matters, then inshallah Allah is all hearing. ولله سبحانه وتعالى.